suppose we should take a look and see how the collapsing Twin Cities or real estate home prices are looking. Let's start you with the median there. You can see, well, here, let me zoom in a little bit further for you. I can't really see the collapse yet, so there we go. All right. That's exactly where we are for home prices around the Twin Cities. As you can see there, I'm being completely sarcastic. We started the year off at 365. We were 364 through the middle of the year, and then we are now back in August, exactly where we started in January. So in fact, the Twin Cities have not seen any sale price decreases. Before we look at seasonality changes, and also I'm gonna take you back to my predictions for next month, let's start you off with interest rates. This is what's on everybody's mind. Here's where we're at currently. 7.28 is a pretty good average number that we're seeing. If you look on the left side there, that's exactly how we've been trending over the last year. So we had seen this big increase there, it dropped, and then pretty much had been kind of a slow burn for most of the year. We did fortunately see that plateau off a little bit. If you remember last month, we were talking about, hey, great, rates are volatile, but staying relatively flat. We did see an increase in that. Right up here was the beginning of the month. That is right in this area there. We saw almost 7.5% with interest rates, which was pretty killer. They are still very volatile, and generally we've been kind of in that 7.25 range now for most of the year. So we're currently at 7.28. The main thing that is affecting is the month supply of inventory. The higher we are, the more of a buyer's market it is. The lower we are, the more of a seller's market, and that 6 red line there is our target. So we're still not anywhere close to that. We have rebounded just a little bit, but in fact, there's basically no change that you can even see right there. For the August number, we're still at about 1.8 month supply of inventory. We have seen that started to shift back starting in about April of 2022 is when we hit that bottom number there. And then it has been coming back towards being a balanced market, but it's still not even remotely balanced. I will say, I think it feels a lot easier and more balanced than what this graph would explain. When I'm out with buyers, we're getting offers accepted a lot more easily. It's a lot less competitive. Part of that's going to be the seasonality, which I keep referencing. But overall, it feels like a much more equitable market. Things aren't selling as quickly, and the terms just aren't so crazy that buyers are having to offer. As that number keeps going up for us, that is also affecting our days on market. So as you can see right here, August sat flat again. It didn't continue the trend of things slowing down. So if you hear of people, I hear it regularly, people are like, my neighbor put their house on the market and it sat there for a long time and then it didn't sell. That's not happening nearly as often as people think. The median is still 19. That is the rolling average. So that's a 12-month average. So the actual number month to month is a touch higher than that. But overall, homes are still selling. They're still selling relatively quickly. I don't see us going back to anywhere like we were in the early mid-2000s. Don't think that 60, 70, 80 days on market is ever going to become normal anytime soon. Things getting better for buyers is going to be the trend through the rest of the year, and it's why I've said it before. For the past several months worth of market updates, you should subscribe so you don't miss the next one. But winter is absolutely my favorite time for buyers. It's not for sellers, in all fairness. I'm not the type that's just, it's always a great time to buy or sell. No, winter is definitely a good time for buyers. Now, what you're looking on here, for those that are brand new, these peaks right here, that's gonna be the hot summer months. Those start kind of March, April, May, June. And then we start dropping down considerably in those winter months. So the winters are the valleys. The reason being, buyers jump out of the market either because they've got a property under contract or because they're getting their kids in school. They see the snow coming, the holidays are coming. Buyers will drop out. But those listings that are on the market that aren't sold will still hang out there. The sellers will just leave them on the market a little bit longer to see if hopefully if they can get a bite and get that home sold. They will become considerably more motivated as the number of showings drops, as they see the holidays coming. They want to get that thing sold. So fewer demand from buyers, greater supply, and more motivation on the sellers means it can be really, really nice this time of year to buy for buyers. So that's what you're looking at right here. So if this is our little peak there, interest rates, of course, is what's made those median prices a little bit volatile, but we're definitely going into this kind of a season. And since we saw things go lower and rates are high, as far as that sale price for the peak of this summer, I absolutely expect them to go a little bit lower than we have in the past years this winter. But the number one thing that buyers are asking me is, when are rates going to come down? And here's what I've got. Two things. First of all, they always come down with presidential elections every single year for the past 20 years that I checked. And then also the economy is just screaming for rates to come down. So I definitely expect over the next couple of years, we'll see them coming down for that reason as well. Plus the presidential election says it's looking pretty good for next year, but you got to understand what that's going to do to your payments. If you look at this little squiggly graph I made, this is beautiful artwork by Joe Carmack. You're welcome. This just illustrates the point that when those interest rates come down, however, that is going to cause a surge surge of demand, it's all about that supply and demand. So when a buyer demand surges in because those people held off on the sidelines waiting for rates to come down, they jump into the market, they're all trying to buy. Very likely in the spring, this coming 2024, that is going to be what causes prices to go up considerably. And I think we may hit the rewind a little bit. If you heard of the market we had the last couple of years, it was extremely competitive. Buyers were going considerably over list price. They were having to waive inspections. They were putting money towards appraisal gaps. It was kind of bonkers. So while I do love that rates will be coming down, hopefully in the next year or two, why don't we talk about exactly what that would look like? And I've wanted to put this together for you for quite some time, and I finally had the chance to do so. Here's what a scenario would look like in spring 2024. Now let me break apart what you're looking at. First off, you'll see here your payments would be a little over $2,900, and maybe it'd cost you about $31,000 in closing costs. Now, if those numbers scare you, we do have ways we can get both of them down. Certainly with closing costs, we can get the sellers helped with those. Sellers being more motivated, they're more likely to pay for your closing costs during the winter months. But potentially we can do that. There's also lower down payment options. I'm using $385 as our price point. That is factoring if we have $365 right now for our median sale price in the Twin Cities, if we go up only 5% between now and spring. And that's incredibly conservative. That's not the list price. That would be what the home sells for. So when things get competitive, could pretty easily be more like 10% up from where we are currently. But I just wanted to stay conservative. So we're going to go with $385. That's with putting 5% down. And that's going to be factoring if interest rates come down 1%. Now that's pretty darn optimistic, I would say, but I want to skew this as much in the favor of those in the camp that they should wait. So let's be super optimistic and say they do come down a full percent and we're at 6.28. Scenario 2 is going to be, what if you did buy this winter in 2023? Let's start at the bottom here first. I'm going to use our median sale price of where homes are at currently, still 5% down, and then we're going to use that 7.28, which I just told you is our current average interest rate. So you can see even with that, our payment here is only a touch over $3,000, so it's only about $70 more per month. That's not nothing, certainly is something to be aware of, but it does have lower cash to close because you've got a lower sale price number, down payments lower, the percentage fees are lower, and so overall your cash to close is going to be less. But that's not actually the main reason why I suggest people wanting to buy in the next year don't wait until spring, and it's because you've got the opportunity to refinance. Here's what that scenario would look like. If, let's say, in probably 24 to 36 months from now, that's probably the likely scenario of when it'll be an optimal time to refinance. Of course, you're already peaking at that number there. $2,616 is the estimated payment. That's because when you purchased, you've been bought at that lower sale price number, so that of course doesn't go up. And then that's going to be if your interest rate goes down to 5.5%. Now, that's a pretty likely number. I mean, we don't have any idea. There's no crystal ball that'll tell us where interest rates will go to. They're not going back to 4% or 3%, which people would love, but that's not realistic. 5.5 is very realistic. Besides the fact that you can take your payment from $3,000 to $2,600, you can get that almost $400 lower than if you wait till the spring. What's actually super nice about this is that in addition to that, with this loan right here, you've got PMI on it. You can see that $187. That's private mortgage insurance. At that point, the value of your home should absolutely have come up and you've paid it down a touch. And so you're also very likely to be able to get rid of that PMI. And if you want to, and you've got a little more cash saved up, you could also buy down that interest rate at that point. So right now we're just talking everything's normal. You just get $2,600 is your payment. But then if you drop that PMI, that's almost another $200 that you would save every single month. And then let's say you buy that interest rate down to like 4.5%. That's a fairly reasonable scenario. All of a sudden that payment could drop down considerably. Now, in all fairness, you will refinance whether you buy now or you buy in the spring because rates are just simply a lot higher. The main difference though is the principal balance of that home price is going to be $20,000 plus more expensive if you wait until the spring. So that's what's going on in the Twin Cities. My name is Joe Carmack. I would love to be your agent and I'll see you next month.